You are listening to the Savage FINcast, episode 26, Past, Present, and Future, an interview with Erik Larsen.
Chicago. A criminal mastermind called Overlord held our city in his terrifying grip. Ordinary cops were losing the battle against Overlord's super freaks and mutants. Then, a miracle happened. When I found him, he had no memory of his past. I helped him find an identity and a life. Now we have a fighting chance. Now we have the Dragon.
This is the Savage FINcast, the show that gives you what you want, when you want it. I am Jim Purcell.
And I'm Craig Olson.
And we are back again for a special episode. Later on in this episode, we are going to have Erik Larsen himself talking to us, as you, the audience, have demanded.
Like every episode.
Yeah,
they don't want to hear us. I don't blame them. I just want to hear Erik, too.
But before we get to that,
they're going to have to hear from us. We'll get into Erik Larsen news. Let's get this going.
Okay.
Malcolm Dragon to be featured in the newest Nancy in Hell one-shot comic. In February 2014, Amigo Comics will be incorporating Malcolm Dragon into the newest installment of Nancy in Hell comics, originally published by Image Comics. The new one-shot is titled Nancy in Hell, A Dragon in Hell. The official solicitation copy from the Amigo Comics website states, the son of the original Savage Dragon, Malcolm Dragon, is dragged to hell by a pig nun demon who arrived to Earth, Dragon's Earth, answering the call of a high school goth chick. Malcolm is transported into that hellish dimension where he meets Nancy and Lucifer, and they will meet one of the old foes of the Savage Dragon, the Fiend, sent away to the pits of hell in the famous saga Savage Dragon versus Hell, which I don't know if that saga was ever called that, but
pretty sure
anyway.
That was Word with God.
Maybe in Italian comics or something. So Nancy and Malcolm must rescue Lucifer, captive of the Fiend and Pig Nun, riding a red and white 1958 Plymouth Fury.
Sounds pretty bonkers.
Yeah, that's very weird. I mean, we'll see the Fiend come back, and I guess Malcolm will be skirting around in hell. I don't know. I guess, we'll have Erik on so we can talk to him more and find out what's going on with this book, which sounds really weird, but it could be cool.
Moving on. There's going to be a new. There's going to be a Dart statue in the works. Claiborne Moore Studios, the company that brought us previously the Savage Dragon and She-Dragon statues, they are collaborating with Erik again, this time on a Dart statue. From their Facebook page, the studio stated, today's hint about who the subject of the newest Claiborne Moore / Erik Larsen collaboration might be. It's Dart, an acrobat who throws darts at people, and who possesses the God Sword, which can cut through anything. Okay, that last hint was a little bit blatant. But this figure is shaping up to have a sense of movement, charisma, and of course, beauty. End quote. 6 or 7 photos of the rough sculpt can be seen at facebook.com/csmoorestudio. All one word, CS Moore Studio.
And that's CSMOORESTUDIO.
Yeah. So that sounds interesting. I'm not much of a statue person, but I've seen these previous Claiborne Moore statues, and they all look pretty good.
Yeah. I don't collect statues either, but I definitely enjoy looking at them and seeing the process. I wouldn't mind getting that little miniature Savage Dragon bust. I've always kind of wanted that. I don't know if Claiborne Moore Studios did that one, but they definitely did awesome work with the She-Dragon statue, which came in 2 variants, a mohawk one and a long hair one. And I think it had a little glum kind of statue with it. And they did the original Savage Dragon statue, which kind of looks a little dated now because it's got the old school fin from the early 90s dragon. But I can't wait to see how this Dart sculpt comes out.
Yeah.
The rough sculpt looks really cool and fluid and dynamic, and she's a cool character. So we can, again, talk more with Erik about this and get his any information he has on it. That's all we had for the news this episode. We're gonna skip the trivia question. If it still gives you time if you want to answer last episode's question, go back and listen to 25, and you have time until next month. We'll reveal the winner based on what we've gotten up to that date, and we'll have a new trivia question in episode 27. So we want to give us plenty of time and room to talk with Erik, as I'm sure you guys want to hear Erik more than anything else. So let's just get right into our interview with Erik.
Hey man, what's up?
Hey, Erik.
Hey, Erik. Thanks for joining us.
So are we all here?
Me and Craig. Unfortunately, Raven couldn't make it.
That bastard.
Yeah.
I know. Stupid work.
He hates me. He hates me so much.
So how are you?
I'm still breathing, and I feel fortunate.
Yeah. So we're gonna do a little kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Interview, I guess. We got us and we got questions.
Okay.
So I imagine you're a busy man, so we'll get right to it if it's okay with you.
All right. Let's do that. I mean, there's certain stuff that I don't really have a good solid answer to.
Okay.
Like Image United, always nothing ever happens on
Darn
that.
it! There's like 5 more questions crossed out.
Yeah, every time that is brought up to the group, that's just it makes it dead. It's like that's a thread killer or whatever you call that.
Yeah.
It's like there's perfectly fine discussion of all of us, and somebody goes, "Hey, how about Image United?" Suddenly it's like, "Hey, no responses now. What the hell?" We're all patting each other's backs there a second ago, but now we're not talking anymore. Yeah, but there's been, as far as I can tell, absolutely no movement on it. I don't have any pages here. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah. You think you guys are just gonna just call it a day on that eventually, or?
I don't know that we will ever officially make an announcement.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, people send out wedding announcements. They don't send out divorce announcements. So I think that there would be retailers who would be sitting there going, "You promised us this book was going to be completed. It's never completed. Now we want to return these things that we've been sitting on for 10 years. So I don't know that anybody's like, "Yeah, let's do that." Although I frankly think we should. I think we should just say, "You know what? It's never going to happen. Sorry, but we're a bunch of dicks."
Yeah, I mean, just so you could stop getting that question asked.
Yeah, I mean, as the years go on, it's less and less, and it would be really weird to be working on it again, just because Malcolm is such a pipsqueak in the book.
Yeah, right.
It's like, hey, how obvious is it that you guys have been dragging your ass when this one character is like 300 pounds lighter than he is now?
And all the Savage Dragon villains that are featured in it are all dead by now.
Dead.
Yeah, they're all like dead, and big holes in them or something. They've
all
lost their hair.
So we won't ask about Image United, okay? No. So I guess since 192 is out, and I think at this point anyone listening to this podcast should expect that there's going to be spoilers, because we have a lot of questions about that.
Okay.
We've come to a point now where it seems like it's the end of the Savage Dragon character era of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And as we ramped up in 2013 and as you were ending his run, I thought it was one of the best kind of arcs, if you want to call it an arc, for Savage Dragon, in terms of just going out with a bang, and having Savage Dragon in jail was just so exciting. I mean, how was it for you doing that? Like, when you think about your favorite kind of arcs in this book, how does that rate because it blew me away. I was super excited about the book during that.
Well, good. That worked. It was a little weird. Mostly, I don't know. It's been kind of strange in that I felt like I had already moved on when I was wrapping up that. It was sort of like after the last time that he kind of got pseudo bumped off. When he came back, he didn't quite feel, for lack of a better word, real to me anymore.
Gotcha.
And it sort of felt like I'd already moved on. So to kind of put a big bow on it and make it official was a little strange.
Well, which is funny too, because it was probably the first time in 20 issues or so that he actually was the real dragon, because he had almost like Virus running around as a dragon, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is the case. It actually kind of came about because of talking with guys at Image and going, what have I got to do here? I mean, I gave the book to this other guy and he's taken over and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you did? I'm like, yeah. And it's like, well, we didn't even put out a press release or make a big stink about it. And that happened, what, how many issues ago?
Right,
like,
right.
Yeah, I mean, kind of issue 169 started it up a bit anyway. That kind of felt like a first issue.
Right.
So it's a little weird to come back a couple years later and go, no, this is the first issue. We're starting with this time. But there are enough things kind of in it that make it somewhat of a new beginning that I think you'll go, oh, okay. He's not living with the Darlings anymore. He's on his own. He's got his own apartment. He's going to a new school. There's new situations and characters being introduced. So it does kind of feel like a new beginning of sorts, even if it's another new beginning.
Right.
I want to get to this Malcolm the New Beginning. I want to spend some time on that, but I do want to talk a little bit more about, closing out Dragon, and we had some questions on, just his final issues and what transpired there.
Okay.
Can you explain a little bit? And I know, you guys talked a little bit about this on your forums, but back in 116, Dragon got negated by the character Negate, and he kind of lost his healing powers, and it seems like he got depowered, like his strength, he was a little weaker. And then can you compare that versus what happened with Lorella, and what's the difference there? It seems like with Lorella, he just lost, his fangs, his muscle mass. He just turned
everything. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this ends up being kind of comic book logic.
Yeah.
In terms of how things actually function in the real world and how this would really work in real stuff. I don't know that there is necessarily an analog that you can point to and say, no, it worked that way with Crow, and then you did this and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't know if you can really go that far, but sort of the idea there is that, I don't know, whatever, it worked, okay?
Well, I mean, what? So
totally
I guess
dodging that question.
I guess what happened.
I think of them as being two separate things that basically Negate kind of turns you. But how? I mean, because it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense.
My take on it is, being a chosen one, you're actually a different species.
It's definitely a different thing than the regular people.
Right.
There's like this one superpowered thing, and that's been passed on from generation to generation to generation. And there's always one of them, and when the women get pregnant, the kids come bursting out through them, and they're dead. So there's always kind of this one person who's it, and as soon as they get to be adulthood, they have this blood match with their parent, and there's this ritual thing of one taking over from the other one, so that there's really not a lot of time when there are two of them just kind of hanging around buddy.
Right.
At the same time, it's supposed to be this benevolent race. It's like, okay, it's benevolent to a point, but you've still got these guys who are kicking the living shit out of each other until one of them dies.
Yeah.
Right.
But I do think of them as it's a separate thing in a way. It's like,
Well, the thing with being negated is that your unnatural powers are taken away and your natural powers remain. So you can't negate a god or an alien.
well, if you touched Superman,
Right.
Superman's going to be sitting there going, "I'm still fucking Superman. What the
Right,
hell?"
because he's an alien.
And,
Yeah.
and
He's not-
I'm no different, really. And then Lorella's thing is essentially zapping him with
Space.
with red sun radiation or whatever to turn him into a normal human being, even though he was never a normal human being.
Gotcha.
That
Makes sense. Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of that sort of thing.
So
The real question is why negate had any effect on him at all,
Right.
which is kind of I don't know why it would just affect his healing ability, really thinking about it a couple years later, you know?
Right.
It's like at the time it seemed to make sense to me. Now looking back at it, it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense at all. If he's got all the rest of it, if that's all part of him, why would it take away this other thing?
Yeah. Maybe the healing power is kind of like a superpower that he received, instead of genetic.
Maybe it was some sort of extra bonus deal that his race was like, well, you need this healing ability too if you're out there fighting whatever. And he's like, healing ability, bring it on. I'd like some of that shit.
We'll go with that.
There's an awful lot of unanswered questions there because we don't know. We're not privy to what went on.
Right.
With those people, I mean, they could have had some huge contraption there that they're like, well, we got to make sure that we protect our chosen ones because there's only one of you, and if you got killed during the process of this, we'd be down to none, and that's no good.
Right.
So we got to have you go through this, whatever. I mean, it doesn't take much to kind of
figure something out
later on and just go, okay, this is it. Because there's 29 years of unknown life that Dragon had prior to us coming in on his adventures.
Right.
I do have a question though. When did you decide to do this to Dragon? Take away his abilities, turn him into an ordinary person, instead of just keep him off, I guess.
It was very recently. I mean, it very much was kind of down to the last minute, and it was, a lot of my writing is weighing the options, just like I guess anybody's life, really. When you think about your own life, there's always like, do I take this job or do I not take this job? Do I buy this house or do I buy this house? Should we have children now or should we wait a few years?
Yeah, you just go down the path and
just
let it go. Yeah.
Sort of plot out the two separate paths and go, okay, well, this could lead to this, and this, and this, and this other path could lead to that, and that. Which of those two has the most story possibilities? Which is the most interesting?
Right.
I thought if I kill Dragon, that's it. He can't come back because I've kind of pulled that rabbit out of that hat one too many times.
Right.
I don't think that I can kill him again and then have him be coming back and be fine and dandy and have the readers be, yeah, that's good. That worked. That was awesome. I think at this point, if I'm going to do that, I can't really pull another fast one. So,
do you stress over these decisions? I mean, like, all right, here's this character that you've had pretty much an ongoing character you've drawn every month or every day of your life or whatever since 1993, and now it's like, do I make the decision that I'm never gonna draw this guy again that I enjoy drawing the main character of my comic, or even smaller characters like Mako?
It does. It's definitely something that I think a lot about, and at certain times it's to the point where I'm like, this character doesn't even feel like this character anymore.
Right.
Visually, Dragon, I've been trying to draw him older and older as time goes on.
Right.
Right.
And it's gotten to a point where it's like it doesn't really it hadn't really been feeling like Dragon anymore. It's
Yeah.
like when I'm sitting there doing sketches for people at conventions, I'm sitting there drawing Dragon age 35, not Dragon age 50. And
Yeah. Dragon as a cop.
and it just sort of felt like I've already moved on in a way, just because he's moved on somewhat visually, and it just seemed like, let's just push this that much further, and so he's that much less. I'm still not used to drawing that Dragon yet.
Which,
and
the
I
skinny dragon or Malcolm Dragon?
Skinny Dragon.
Yeah, it does look rather strange.
He looks weird at this point, and I think eventually what I want him to feel like is human Ben Grimm.
Right.
Where
Yeah.
you look at human Ben Grimm and you don't go, wow, that guy's really skinny. You look at human Ben Grimm and you go, that's like a husky dude, but he's a human being shaped husky dude.
Right.
He's not, inhuman. Same thing with like Captain America. You're not looking at him going, that guy's fucking Bruce Banner. What's he running around with a
Yeah, right.
You still think, yeah, that guy could kick my ass.
So Dragon's gonna hit the gym.
Dragon should feel like that in his human guise. It's just
Right.
that the contrast was so great with how huge I had been drawing him that he just seemed really emaciated.
Right.
But he shouldn't be that. He shouldn't seem that emaciated. And I think eventually we'll be at that point where he'll be standing next to somebody built like Star or something. And you'll go, no, Dragon's still kind of a beefy dude. He's not a stick man, but he's beefy human, not inhumanly big.
You had that great set of 2 pages in the newest issue where you kind of Dragon was in the same pose, being carried off, and you could really kind of flip back and forth and compare the sizes, and it's like, my God.
I love it. I think that the difference in shape really sells what you've done. I think it really makes Dragon, makes what you've done more obvious.
Oh, I agree. I think if I would have just said, oh, his powers have been taken away and he still visually looks the same.
Yeah.
And you look at his hands and you go, your hands are still as big as your head. What do you mean you're different?
Right.
You look exactly the same.
Right.
I think it had to be that.
Yeah. We had a question when we were doing the issue. There was a scene there after Dragon was depowered. He was actually shown shorter than Malcolm. Has he always been shorter than Malcolm, or is that a new development?
Well, Malcolm's been progressively getting taller.
Okay.
So Malcolm's about 6'2".
Okay, so he is tall.
And Dragon's 5'10", so Malcolm's got 4 inches on
So
him.
Dragon hasn't shrunk at all. He's the same.
No,
same
he's
height.
no shorter than he's ever been.
Okay.
There's always been those panels where he's standing next to somebody and you look and go, yeah, he's shorter than that dude. What the hell? Is there anybody who's taller than Dragon? And Malcolm, there'll be a little less of that with him because he's 6'2", and although that's not inhumanly tall, it's still taller than most people are, whereas Dragon was really average height.
Well, at least guest artists won't be screwing that up now. When everyone draws Dragon and they make him 6'5".
Yeah.
Hey, with Savage Dragon's fin, in your head, did you ever come up with some kind of like biological use for that? Does he were you ever throwing around things? Is there a use for that fin? Does it store?
As far as I know, there's not. I haven't addressed it anyway. I don't know that he's got. There's no superpower or anything that's attached to it. I don't know what the use is of fins on anything, really.
Is it just to gather the sun rays and warm the blood or something? And
maybe it cuts the water better if he's swimming. Maybe that's it. I mean, it could be something as simple as that. On their home planet originally, there was more water around, so whatever.
Right.
But I don't. conceive
put
of it
much
as
thought
having anything that would be like, oh, this is crazy cool because he's got this thing on his head.
He has a fin. We have hair. It's just we're different, is all.
There's some differences here. You know, I kind of regret not giving Malcolm 5 toes, actually.
Really?
I think that would have been something where you go, oh, look at that. His kid's different physically
Right.
than he is. So probably if Malcolm goes and has kids, that there'll probably the next generation will be that much more removed from him, and
Right, that would make sense, I guess, especially if it was a human woman, because now they're only like a quarter dragon or whatever, quarter trillion.
Yeah. So maybe he'll have an even smaller fin, and he'll feel all
It would be back to the Paul Dragon fin.
Good Lord, help us.
We've got a bunch of questions from people from the Twitter and the forum. Maybe we should get to some of those, Craig.
All right.
Sure. Let's see. John Turner asked, let's see, how long have you planned for Malcolm to take the lead? Has it always been the plan or a recent choice? I think you kind of answered that, but...
Yeah, I mean, the book is set up to be generational. So as soon as he was born, the eventual plan is that he would take over the book.
Right.
And then he will eventually have children, and then they will eventually take over the book. So it's that's the way it's going to continue.
Gotcha. And then I guess to add to that, Will Poe asked something similar, but he said, did Erik retire Dragon because he felt he had done everything with him that he could do, or was it more that he was just ready to start focusing on Malcolm as the lead? And I think, one of the things you just said was that you just didn't feel like it was the same character, but was there anything more to that?
I don't think that there's ever a period where you go, I've done everything I can do with this character, because there are a million things you can always do. People who say, oh, yeah, Superman's been around for 75 years. There's nothing you can do with him. It's like, that's bullshit. Because there's an awful lot of stuff about Superman that we don't even know. We just don't even know about him that much. It's like, what? Is he religious? Is he not? Does he go to church? Does he not go to church? If he goes to church, what kind of church does he go to? Is he a Presbyterian? Or is it? What denomination is he? If there's that, and that religion is a big part of a lot of people's lives. Mm-hmm. We don't even know that about him after 75 years.
They've done a really good job of avoiding that question over 75 years.
He opens his refrigerator, and what's in there? He goes out to dinner. Where would he go? What kind of food does he like to eat?
If I was Superman, I'd eat in the 31st century every night.
Well, it's like there's all these things we don't know. What's the basic stuff that you and I know about ourselves and our friends. You go, oh, what kind of music does he like to listen to? Who the hell knows? Probably a fucking Eagles fan. God, but you don't know. You don't know about where is his taste in music lie? What if he's sitting there reading a book? What's it going to be? If he's watching a television show, what TV shows does he watch? What kind of movies would he find entertaining? We don't know any of that stuff. There's a whole lot of just personality stuff that we find out on our first date with somebody that we know nothing about that. And a big part of that may be, hey, they don't want to make a commitment one way or the other. They don't want him to be, into Winger or something and have everybody go, loser.
And then 20 years later, they're like, well, remember when he was into Winger and he's still the same age now? So is he still rocking Winger or what?
What's going on here?
Remember when he had the mullet? Was that last year or when was that?
Rocking the mullet.
Yeah. Let's go through a few more questions. It kind of breaks up a little bit. I do want to get into the new direction of the book. So I'll be quick on some of these questions. We had a bunch of people write in with questions. We're not going to get to all of them. But I want to ask a few where I'm kind of interested in.
What are they all like dumb questions?
Some of them, but I'm not gonna say from who. So no, just kidding. No, because now the ones I don't say, they're gonna think I'm accusing them of being dumb questions. But,
It's not like they don't have opportunities to ask those questions in other forums.
yeah, well, I think the thing was maybe it's instead of just having 140 character answer, we could expel a little bit more on it, or I don't know. And it just humors us, at least it lets us know people are listening. Michel Fife, who I always probably butcher his name, God bless him. But,
we all do.
He asked, which was an interesting question, any chance of an all-in-one Dave Johnson Super Patriot trade or hardcover? And I can't imagine something like that would not sell. Dave Johnson interiors, and I mean, have you thought about?
I don't know how well it would. How well did that Superman Elseworlds thing do? And that's Superman. That's a character who's able to carry his own title.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that they're even keeping that in print. They're certainly not going back to putting the Chain Gang War on the presses and running that around.
Right.
Would I like to see it? Yeah. Are there existing files for the first 4 issues? No.
Oh, all right.
Need to be recolored and recreated? It might. Is that going to be really expensive? Yeah, probably would be.
Is that why we got the Liberty and Justice trade and not the first one all those years ago?
Because all those files exist and they're done right. And the earlier book, if you look at it, it's like the coloring's not as sharp and as good and as beautiful as the later stuff is. I mean, there was an earlier Photoshop efforts, and a lot of the colors are kind of mushy, and there's even effects that they're trying to do to emulate old comic book pages, and the dots are changing size from page to page, and there's stuff that you go, God, it'd be nice to tweak this. On the other hand, it'd be really expensive to have to start over again, and I don't even know that I have all of the stuff in a form where I could recolor it, It's like, do I have photocopies of everything that are in decent shape that I could use in that way? I don't know that I do. I might.
Yeah.
See, it's unfortunate because I've always thought that next to Dragon, Super Patriot has the most broad appeal.
Yeah. Well, I would think, I mean, if I were, kind of the way to maybe do it would be to go, okay, rather than just go, this is all Dave, I'm just going to collect all 16 issues of all 4 Super Patriot miniseries, and then I can have Robert
omnibus
and Dave Johnson and Cory Walker, and it's like suddenly there's a few more names to play with, and also as a collection, it's got more girth to it.
Yeah.
It's not 8 issues, which is barely thicker than standard trades, but it could be like, oh, this is an actual book. This is a real thing.
Well, those are some pretty amazing, names to attach to a book for this day and age too. I mean, the popularity of Robert Kirkman, having his name on it. Everyone loves Dave Johnson's covers and wishes that they had more interiors. Cory Walker's, a pro's favorite.
Yeah. Well, but it's also, does it work? Because Robert's name on everything doesn't necessarily translate
that's true.
to everybody showing up for this one, because he's had his books that kind of came and went.
Yep.
I want capes back.
Yeah, well, it's like, he did a capes trade, and even hardcore Kirkman guys, it's like, would you like to buy this? It's like, I'm not so sure that I'm into the kind of comedy stuff as I am into the horror or straight superhero stuff.
Yeah, I see that.
So, I don't know. Would I like to? Yeah. Is it a huge priority? God, so much of my life ends up being a huger priority that I just have to, put things in some kind of order. Like what fire needs to be put out the soonest. Getting the next issue done. Seems to be the biggest one always.
I guess now would be a good time to ask. SD Ultimate Collection, is it still in the cards?
I would hope so. Again, it's going to be, there's some definite file issues. I would rather not have to pay to have it recolored again from scratch for several reasons. One, it's expensive, but two, you can't really match it that well. It's not going to look the same. And when you're doing a collection, you'd kind of like it to still have that nostalgic ring of, oh, this looks like the book that I bought off the stands. This could be cool.
Yeah.
And so that may take some doing. And there may be some issues that'll look a little not as sharp as some of the others.
Sell it as remastered edition.
That's hit and miss too. I mean, I've never reprinted the first issue of Dragon in its original form. It was recolored, and nobody seemed to care one way or the other that happened.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
All right, well, just go.
I would like to see it, but again, it hasn't been something where I'm like, I've got to get this done at the expense of getting this other thing done. I think that may be a situation where I'm just going to have to go to the fine folks at Image Comics and just go, can somebody there run with this thing and find a way to make this thing happen, and just I'll back off and just let you find a way.
Gotcha. Last question. We had a bunch, and I'm just going to cut it off here just for the sake of time. But Nick Justice asks, what are the chances of my creator-owned character, Jesus E. Lee, running as a backup in Savage Dragon for a few issues?
I would say, I'm going to say slim.
Sorry, Nick.
I mean,
we tried, Nick. Sorry.
Guys. I kind of would like the book to be Dragon-centric. If there are extra pages in there, I'd like them to be stuff from the book, not just, hey, I drew this. What do you say? Right.
Well, that is a little, I mean, in the earlier issues, you did have some things here and there,
largely it was guys who were working on the book, though. It's like Chris Eliopoulos was doing lettering my book for 106 issues. Like, he wanted to do some cartooning. It's like, okay, let's make that happen.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, Dragonbert was related to Dragon in a lot of ways. Megaton Man at least had teamed up with Dragon at one point, so there was a tenuous connection. And people, I mean, people hated Megaton Man. They were just like, why is this here? It doesn't belong here. It was like,
that was running when I started reading the book, and I was largely confused by it at the time.
Yeah, and really it was meant to run online and be something that you could go back to and refer to the other pages. When it ran in Savage Dragon, it was as though you took an ongoing book and clipped it up into 2-page segments, and it doesn't really read that well as 2-page segments because the continuity isn't there, keeping it all together.
That's probably was my problem.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's great having these kind of like, these things that tie into the current Savage Dragon universe, or gives you a little bit of backstory on stuff that happened between the pages and stuff. And I think the fans react, naturally most to those kind of stories, which I've been very happy with the past year's worth of stories.
Great.
They've been great. I mean, some of these, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it or anything, but I think some of the backup issues, like the Vanguard serials, I was just as excited about as like the main story. I just thought that there was a lot of good quality stuff coming out between Gary Carlson's kind of Vanguard book, Vanguard serial. I really enjoyed that last little serial, not serial, but backup in the was it Powerhouse and Flash Mercury with Frank Fosco. The kind of Monster Hunters was really kind of cool and different.
I want more of that.
I mean, that kind of the idea. I think what those backups should really do is to kind of shine a spotlight on something that we're not necessarily covering.
Yeah, and it's just exciting.
I think a backup of Heracles would probably be better received than the backup of Jesus E. Lee. You know?
Yeah, I agree.
You go, why is this one? You'd be going, why is this even here? And the other one, you'd be going, oh, cool. I've been wondering what this guy's been up to.
Yeah.
I can find out.
And it is kind of neat getting those backups by Gavin, who's really into the continuity, and he kind of brings that. Oh, let's bring this guy who we haven't seen in 40 issues to make a cameo, and we're gonna kill. But at least we got to say goodbye to him, or what I mean. It's just these little kind of, instead of just a generic kind of bad guy, you're getting somebody that it's kind of a payoff for longtime readers to say, hey, I remember that guy, or. I look at this, there's a newspaper with some mobster that was referenced in Savage Dragon, 20 something, and it's like, oh, I remember that. That's kind of neat. It makes it fun. It's like, it's a payoff, and you can be a new reader and totally glance over it and it wouldn't ruin the story at all. But, if you're a longtime reader, it's like, it's a thrill to kind of see something like that and be like, hey, you almost feel like you're one of the privileged that know that's you're in on the joke kind of thing.
Yeah. It does become kind of in jokes. And Gavin's really, his big focus seems to be, how can I tie all this stuff up?
Yeah, so it can be obsessive almost.
It's all gonna come together.
So can we shift gears now and talk about the new direction and try, I know there's a bunch of people excited about this. I'm super excited to see where you're going to go with Malcolm taking over the book. How are you selling this to somebody that's never picked up an issue of Savage Dragon, and you're saying, all right, well, this is a new direction. It's a whole new character leading the book. How do you get somebody to how do you pick their interest?
It's essentially it's a new book in a way. It's sort of like what if you started? I mean, it's like you're reading Invincible from issue 1. You could go. It's as though you're reading that, but you had already been reading 192 issues worth of Omni-Man. And then suddenly you got the first issue of him having his own book. You'd be like, oh, not only am I in on the ground floor, but there's this huge, rich history that can be drawn on that add this other layer that wasn't there in Invincible. In Invincible, the world was starting then. This, you can go, okay, the world's starting now to a degree. At the same time, if somebody else shows up, that's something that you can go, oh, and this character has appeared before, and there's this stuff that can be referenced. So it's still going to be, it'll be approachable from somebody who's reading it from the first issue, because it's a new start. At the same time, when other characters show up, for somebody who's been a longer time reader, that character has some more depth to them than they would have had, and you'll just be in on stuff that a new reader isn't in on, and that's just the nature of the beast, really.
Yeah. So it does sound like you're going to have some reoccurring kind of characters from the past kind of come in.
Well, sure. I mean, when you start into it, Dart's still the
that's true. Yep.
The head of the vicious circle. As far as the characters in the book are concerned, and really, there's an awful lot of characters that Malcolm has just never met.
Mm-hmm.
You put together a list of what are the characters that he's actually come into contact with, and it's not everybody by any stretch of the imagination. So when a villain shows up and suddenly Malcolm has to deal with him, as far as Malcolm's concerned, he's a new villain. As far as the readers are concerned, if they're familiar with it, it's like, oh, that's one of his dad's villains. And even then, just looking over the course of the whole run, there's a bunch of bad guys that Dragon never even met, because they were guys who were standing around jawboning with Powerhouse and Brainy Ape or whatever.
Yeah, it's true. It's because you just created a bajillion and 7 villains.
Well, I mean, often it's easier in a way to create a new villain than it is to reference something that's old. And it's like, as screwed up as that is, I mean, an awful lot of times I'm sitting there going, God, I don't even remember who's alive. I'll just put in the new dude.
So are you going to have some new kind of supporting cast members that we've never seen before kind of joining the book and being kind of long-term?
Absolutely. Well, he goes to a new high school and moves to a new apartment. He's on his own in an apartment when we come in on him in issue 193. So his life has changed somewhat. We're not getting him going to a house in the suburbs. He's now living in an apartment and dealing with rent and dealing with new neighbors and landlords, and then going to school, and it's a whole clean slate in that regard. There may be one or a kid or something like that you'll go, oh, I know that one kid, but for the most part it's going to be a whole new cast of characters. And
which you would imagine. I mean, high school kids, their parents probably wouldn't let them hang out with another guy's got his own apartment or something. You know what I mean? You'd almost
there's an awful lot of stuff that comes along with that. He's got his own apartment. He's got superpowers. I mean, geez, if I were going to high school and suddenly some super famous guy is suddenly going to my school, it'd be like, holy crap, man. Clint Eastwood's your dad? That is pretty freaking awesome.
So are we going to see the womanizing kind of aspect that Dragon, his father, had, or is he pretty much with Maxine for a while in this run, or is that something you don't want to?
Maxine and him sort of had a
breakup.
A breakup of sorts. She's kind of towing the line in terms of her parents and what they want. So Malcolm's going to kind of be pining here a little bit. And I'm, we'll kind of see how that plays out.
She's on a cover, so we'll see her again.
Yeah, she is on an upcoming cover for sure. But there are other characters who you look at somebody like Malcolm and it's like, why would I not want to be with this dude? This guy is super famous and he's 6'2" and he's good looking and he does all this awesome stuff.
Right.
And that's gets to be a weird kind of situation where he's going, is this guy friends with me because he's friendly and he's a likable sort, or is he just being friends with me because of who I am? And he's got to be a certain amount of distrust in terms of just various people and what their motivations are. But then, in reality, everybody's got that to some degree.
Yeah. And we've seen that a little bit already with like his mother's brother or whatever, the Jacksons, remember?
Yeah.
And they kind of got shooed away. But I could definitely see that. Is he going to have a roommate or anything like that? Or
I had kind of toyed with the idea of that, but my inclination is to not. I mean, the two candidates for that would be Thunderhead,
right,
or PJ, because PJ suddenly has no home.
And Darnell Washington kind of disappeared out of the picture for a while. They, for a few issues you'd see them all together, and then PJ kind of went to the little wise guys, and Malcolm got a girlfriend and Darnell disappeared.
Yeah, but I figure he's got parents and he's got a regular
life.
I don't think of him as suddenly being homeless, whereas we know for sure that PJ really doesn't have active living nearby relatives
arrangements. Right.
I'm curious. Do you have any plans for Lorella to have any role in the book going forward?
To a degree, she and Dragon will, but she's not going to be playing an aunt role or anything like that. She's got kind of her thing that she's got her own mission, her own stuff that she feels like she needs to get accomplished here, and that whole arrangement is going to be much more cumbersome and weird than
she's just going to be giving birth constantly, spitting
well,
out little
the
dragons.
Problem is, see, the thing is that since she is
she's an alien.
That would she is an alien, but those people are they're relatively human. So basically, there's no way for her to physically restart their race. There just isn't enough time there. So they're going to be harvesting her eggs and implanting them in regular human beings to carry to full term.
Wow.
Because there's no way that she could do it. It would just be physically impossible, because even in the best case scenario, she's going to be popping out a kid every 9 months. But she was part of Dragon's origin.
Yeah.
How old was she then? So how old does that put her at now? If she was even pushing it and saying, well, she was only 18 then, well, 18 plus 21, that puts her at 39. How many years is she going to be able to actively be able to produce children? We know in our real world that once you're pushing 40, that starts getting risky.
Right.
Well, she's pushing 40. So, it's like, how many eggs can this woman produce? Let's get some drugs in here and have there being as many of the eggs as possible. And what genetic stuff that you brought with us, so that these related human beings, related whatever their race is called, I always forget, whatever dragon people you got,
Krylin,
that they're not super, it's like apparently that she's got some genetic stuff that she brought along for the ride. So that all those major families or something cannot be super related. Otherwise, they're just going to become mutated freaks, and that's no good. You don't want them to be hillbillies inbreeding with each other.
But at any rate, it sounds like she's got her own business to take care of. And won't
I mean, she's not going to be sitting there, knitting in the other room and acting as babysitter for Malcolm or something.
Yeah.
And I don't really want that. I mean, I want him to kind of grow into being the adult that he will be, and that's a little bit of time here, but he'll get there.
Is there going to be any kind of reference to like the holidays, Christmas time, or
I kind of blew that one. this year it'll be mentioned, but by the time it is, it'll be kind of too far along. And so I don't really want to go, hey, it's a Christmas issue. Sorry, it's out in May.
You've done that before. It's good.
Yeah, I've done it before, but I would just assume if I'm going to do a Christmas issue, have it be next Christmas.
Solicit it in July.
So, yeah, let's get back on track before I start doing any of that craziness.
So, I mean, we have this whole new direction with issue 193. Why 193 instead of just kind of like holding back, 6-7 more issues, or well, I guess 7 more issues for an issue 200 and making a bang with that? And the second part of that question is, do you have something lined up, like something big for 200, or is it going to kind of just be like another issue because we've done something big with 193?
The reason it's 193 is because I kind of feel like every issue ought to be special and not have it be that hey, we have to wait for an anniversary for something to be big.
Right.
Also, I kind of got this weird numerology thing that I refer to every now and then where I'm like, issue 121, that's when Gwen Stacy died. So that number means something to me in some weird way. And 193 was Jack Kirby coming back to Marvel Comics and doing Captain America again. At the same time, it was Herb Trimpe's last issue of The Incredible Hulk. So it was this, on both of those books, it was a real transitional period from one thing to another. And just, it seemed like that's an okay number with that.
Right.
And the other part of that is there's still a trade paperback program that goes on, which we collect 6 issues in a chunk. So an issue 200 isn't going to be the start of any trade. It would be, it would fall in the middle of some trade. And then it's, well, do we have this special transition thing now be in the middle of some other bigger book? That seems a little weird too.
Well, you make a good point too. Every issue should be kind of a cool, something really cool going on, or something to get someone to pick it up. And like you said, the Gwen Stacy, they didn't wait till 125 or 150 or 100 to kill her off, you know. And on top of that, it just, you know, if anything, it should help increase sales, because you would think, you know, maybe 193 will get a bump because it's a new direction, and then of course 200 because it's, you know, a special anniversary issue or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, and something will go on there, right?
I mean, we're talking.
There'll be backups and other stuff that'll be in there. You know, that not every story gets to be a huge change of direction where everything goes off in a different place, but it can be the culmination of what's happened since 193, you know, where it can be, hey, he's really showing himself to be a thorn in the side of the vicious circle. So issue 200, they're putting out, you know, we're all going to come after you, great guns, and this is going to happen, and you're going down. And that's enough of something where you can go, okay, there's a whole bunch of bad guys who are coming in here. It's a bigger war kind of thing.
You use it as a showcase of some kind.
Or you could do a showcase. I mean, that could also be a point where suddenly they're going, you know, the real way to get Malcolm over here and to get Malcolm to surrender would be to take his dad, who is now coincidentally powerless. So now we've got this great hostage. I mean, Dragon's now fucking Aunt May. You know? And it's like, you know, sorry, Batman, we've got Alfred Pennyworth right here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, suddenly you're not this great superpowered guy anymore. So you get to play that character, that guy who needs somebody to come in and save his ass. You know, and then kind of bring him in a little bit and have him do something, you know.
Right.
So there's stuff that can be done for sure, and there's a lot of different directions where things can go. And in the meantime, a number of people have contacted me and saying, I want to be part of this. So
yeah,
let's let that happen too.
I mean, we're looking at maybe probably like end of summer release for 200. I mean, do you have a clear picture of what you want in 200 in terms of, you know, backup stories? Or, I mean, how far ahead are you on that? Like, in terms of, do you got, you know, guys lined up already?
There's a few guys that are lined up. There'll be a Mr. Glum story. There'll be a Vanguard story. I have another guy who wants to do Malcolm joining the football team, and it's like, all right, I'll do that. I can write a story of that. That sounds crazy. And it's just, okay, sure, why not?
That's
Uh,
cool. And is it going to be kind of like 100 where you're drawing it and you have different inkers, or are you going just?
it'll probably not be that. I kind
Yeah,
of I've
you've done that, been there.
I've done that a lot of times. That's kind of how it ends up being. Where I'll be like, all right, I feel like I've done this sort of thing before. I imagine that I'll be at least writing most of it.
Mhm.
Probably not the Vanguard thing. That will probably be Gary, but
Yeah,
you know,
that's cool. I mean, the Vanguard thing, I don't know which way Gary would go with it, but I love how they ended with the kind of like almost like a Guardians of the Galaxy type team, bunch
yeah,
of kind of hodgepodge, weird mix of guys, and it just it's kind of cool to see another team in Dragon.
yeah.
And you know what they're heading for because we've seen how that ended up. So it's gonna be cool to
Yeah,
see.
it's like, what the hell, man? But yeah, no, there's cool stuff ahead. So and it can go kind of various different directions from there, and then as for where it goes beyond that, he keeps getting older. So
Yeah, yeah,
every step of the way, that opens up other things. It's like
right.
at this point in our world, Malcolm's 17 already, and his birthday was in October, right? So, he's not that far away from being an 18-year-old, which makes him, pretty much legal adult kind of guy,
Right.
although not of drinking age.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
it.
like, holy crap.
It
How'd
is
that
pretty amazing.
It's really weird. I mean, kids definitely are this living thing that just kind of shows you how much time has progressed.
Right, right.
Sitting here doing the same book for 21 years and not really, not there aren't a lot of changes in my own life, at least on the work end of stuff. But then I've got these two kids who were born during this process, and one of them's in college now, and the other one's a junior in high school, and it's like, holy crap, man, how'd this happen?
Well, and it goes kind of both ways too, because Savage Dragon's always kind of been a constant in my life from being a freshman in high school and then quitting comics altogether to spend money on work to get a car or something, and then going to college and getting a job and finally having my own spending money to get back in comics, and then Savage Dragon's still there, pick it up. I'm 36 now, so I have two kids myself, and it's like, and all that time, Savage Dragon's been coming out on pretty much, a monthly basis, and it's pretty amazing to kind of, I look at certain issues and I remember where I was when that issue came out. I was in Japan when 120 came out, and I remember going, tracking down an American comic store in Japan to pick that up, and it's like, it just like different milestones. I remember where I was. I remember when I got back into Savage Dragon in the 70s, talking about the issue 70 or 70 something. And I remember where I worked and what comic store I went to get that. I was living in Boston at the time, and now I'm in Philadelphia. So it's pretty cool that, my favorite book has lasted, it's going on almost 200 issues.
So weird. It's so weird to think of, because I grew up with comics as well. And I'm sitting there looking at other books and going, well, what was going on with them around this same time? And with a lot of the books, it's like, they were on their 8th or 9th or 10th creative team.
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap, man. And I'm still like the same goddamn guy doing the same book. And back then it would be, if somebody did 70 issues on something, it was like, that's a hell of a run. Did you see that run? And I'm sitting there going, I'm almost 3 times that at this point.
Yeah. I mean, Marvel comics that were at issue 200 were, in the 80s or something like that, and it seemed like they'd been around forever, and now your book's going on issue 200. Amazing Spider-Man, was it 300 or 350 that you did the anniversary issue with Doctor Doom?
Yeah, that was 350.
But it seemed like that comic is like, wow, that comic's been around since the 60s, you know, and it's only
That
150
comic-
issues more than
that
where you're
comic
at.
was around since the first issue of Amazing Spider-Man came out the week I was born.
Yeah, and don't forget, Spider-Man has come out, you know, twice a month, you know, so those numbers are super kind of inflated compared to, like, you know, a comic that was only monthly.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just amazing to me that, you know, this book is at 200. I congratulate, you know,
it's amazing feat.
Yeah, it's pretty darn awesome considering that you're, you know, the driving force behind it. You do everything pretty much on it, and you know, I'm just happy that my favorite book
is this one.
You know, it's this one, and it's, you know, it's never changed the creative team. No one's ever, you know, retconned anything and brought, you know, the devil in to make a deal and change things, or, you know, it's pretty neat. So.
I build to that. I got it.
Yeah. We've never had a clone saga. I mean,
again, you know, we're young yet.
Yeah. I had a few more questions. I know we're almost at an hour here. Recently, Claiborne Moore on his Facebook page posted what I guess is a Dart statue that he's in. Is that something that's going to go into production, or is it right now just a kind of a prototype? Or
it will go into production. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's the idea, and it's the new Dart, so it'll have Allison's face rather than Jill's face.
Yeah, his a younger looking face, and
a younger.
Is there like costume going to be like shiny, like that silver shiny kind of look to it, or?
I'm not sure how close to.
How do you envision that? I guess is like a real costume.
It is weird because I kind of think, you know, it's always drawn as kind of white, and I don't know that really works as a shiny white thing. I don't know.
I just always in my head envision that as like shorthand for like a silver.
Yeah,
like I picture her as like silver sable.
Silver always kind of translates as gray somehow in the real world. It always seems way darker than it actually should be. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what we can do with it. I mean, maybe
do two different variants.
Well, you could. I mean, I guess that you can cast that stuff out of any number of things. They've got that stuff where they slap it on toys and it's all like super shiny. I mean, how would that look?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
It looks neat though. I mean, he has the rough sculpt kind of on his Facebook page, and it really looks fluid. I mean, I like the way like the hair's whipping around. She's got that sword. And it's kind of really, you know, it's set her character as Dart is totally different, you know, than the Jill character in my eyes. And Jill kind of relied more on the darts. This character just like really fluid, bouncing all over the place. You see the hair kind of whipping around. She's doing flips and stuff. She's just a neat character, kind of a strong kind of woman, evil character that's more of like a ninja than anything. You know what I mean? It's like it's cool. And I think in that last issue was kind of amazing too, that, you know, she's kind of come away. She hasn't been using the darts as much. It's more about the God Sword now. But to kind of finish off, what is his name, Firepower, with 2 darts to the eyes, it's like, yeah, well, she's still named Dart for a reason, you know. But that was neat. So we look forward to that statue coming out. It's kind of cool that we're getting another one of those. We could use an updated kind of like a Malcolm statue too, if you can convince.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'd be down for that, but that's.
Yeah,
you know, whether or not there would be enough of an audience for that is something else again.
Yeah. And then what's going on with this Nancy in Hell, a Dragon in Hell one shot? Kind of came out of nowhere. It seemed like.
It was kind of a weird thing that I gotta put in the preamble that my memory of everything is not necessarily coincide with reality.
So if you say something messed up and people get pissed off,
a lot of stuff just kind of is like, well, I thought it went this way, you know. And every now and then somebody will play me back. Well, you said this literally, and they'll play it back. It's like, I don't remember that at all. my recollection of it's like, and it's embarrassing too because some of it's like, well, when Image Comics formed, you went out to dinner with blah blah blah, and it's like I don't even remember. I know that dinner was supposed to be significant, and it should have been, but I don't remember it at all. Right. Sorry. But in this case, what my recollection was the guy was going, I want to do this cool thing for the web, and this will be fun. We use Dragon in this, and this is the guy who's going to be drawing it. And then when he started working on it, it was, well, it's going to be a different guy drawing it because the other guy couldn't do it or for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. But it's going to, run things past you and blah, blah, blah. And then eventually it was, hey, we kind of like to publish this. Would that be cool with you? It's like, okay. But it wasn't, and then it became not an Image thing, which is something else again. And then it's like, that's kind of weird. Why don't you not? And at one point he wanted to put like the Dragon logo as the logo, like that's the name of the book. And I was like, nah, I'm thinking maybe not on that because it's not drawn by me and not written by me, not coming from me. This is guest starring my dude in your book, so that's your book.
And this is so Nancy and Hell. It had a couple of series through Image, right? Like 4-part series or something like that. I remember seeing a few. And so is everything you get the final word on like Malcolm's, what's coming out of Malcolm's mouth, I guess, and his dialogue, I guess.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
But we'll see when we get there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting that I guess the Fiend, isn't it? Right? It's Debbie's
mom. Yeah, I think so.
Version. That's kind of cool.
I think so. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that.
Cool.
I'm as curious as you are, actually.
Yeah. And then again, just a few quick questions. Savage Dragon Companion Part 2. Are we going to see one of those kind of after
I hope
200?
So. Yeah, I would like to as soon as we get to 200.
Yeah, that was
a good idea.
Those are great. I love those things.
Yeah, those are good. And I know that the guys who have been writing those synopsis in the back of stuff have been saying for a while now, yeah, we want to do another one. So
cool.
Great.
Yes, that'd be great. And I think we probably ask you this every time we talk to you. Any update on the Ant series? Is that I know you had some issues where Mario came out with another version that was so similar to what he sold you, and I mean, have you kind of just been like, this is going to be more of a hassle than it's worth, or are you still planning on?
No, I'll get to it at some point. I think, just because I feel like I need to touch on the character, I will probably she'll probably be in Savage Dragon before she's on her own. So, that's likely to happen.
Right.
Rather than have her be her book be her debut appearance, so it'll probably be okay. She's in there a little bit, and then we'll get to this other thing, But we'll see.
Cool. Did you have any other? Jim, do you have any questions?
I answered everything I wanted to know.
If there's, as long as as long as my kid's not walking through the front door, I can go as long as you guys want to, And
sure.
And we'll hear it. We'll hear it as they're stomping up. So if there's anything, any other characters,
yeah, definitely,
or any other questions that you got burning, just
definitely.
fire away till the day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all right. So just to go on, this might be a little out of order now. It's a little unstructured, but if you're going to give us your time, I'll take it. Issue 190 had Brenda Funk meeting this kind of the skull-headed bad guy. Is that someone we're gonna kind of see coming back around? have big plans for him.
As you will with her, there'll be more of her, and there'll be more of that guy, because every time I bump off one of these characters who enables people to have superpowers, I kind of gotta add
have someone
another one.
replace it. I love those guys.
Otherwise, you sort of run out of those kind of characters. So
yeah, definitely. And then I guess in terms of this new direction, you have a lot of kind of kids from other characters hanging around. Are we going to start seeing more of those, like the Johnson twins? That's a big one. That's one of those kind of like last remaining kind of plots of like, what the heck's going on with the ugly one, And
the terrible thing about the ugly one is that's just purely a carryover from when I was a kid.
Yeah, right.
It just really is. It's like I just had him have an ugly. It's just that's the way I happened to make that one guy.
Some kids are born ugly.
It was, it's like, this happens sometimes, right? I mean, what are you gonna do?
Well, I mean, I guess in the back of the reader's head, you always have that. Was that caused because Dragon was in William's body? Whatever it was.
And does that mean there's going to be some kind of superpowers involved here, and something's cool's going to come of that? And it's like, you know what? I at some point I'm going to have to make that happen, and I'll cobble together some dopey reason as to why that made sense. But God's honest truth, if I'm putting my hand on a stack of Bibles right now, I just did it that way because that's the way I did it when I was a youngster, and that is just me ripping off other characters too, because there was some ugly character that had shown up in the Hulk, and I was like, oh, I want to do a guy who looks like that. He's gonna be ugly too. And now it's like, oh crap, that I probably should have thought this through a little bit more. Oops, my bad.
I have a general question. I'm sure you can't give specifics or anything, but I know now that the book is Malcolm's and Malcolm is a star. Do you have any plans for Angel or the SOS to have any significant role in the future?
Yes. In fact, at one point I was actually had considered actually having the book become Angels.
See, I would have loved that. I would have been in heaven.
Wow.
And that would have been definitely a whoa.
She's a savage dragon.
Her last name's Dragon. It's all good. We could go that way. But
then you thought about your fan base and
how
much people bitched about the Savage world, and imagine this.
Yeah, it's, you don't know. You don't know how anything's going to be received until you get there. And she also doesn't have the visual hook that Malcolm does.
Yeah, the fin kind of.
Look at Malcolm, you go, he's got a fin on his head. He is his father's son. There's just no two ways around that.
Right.
Well, and that's a great thing about the Savage Dragon character. It's so visually different than any other character. I mean, there's a bajillion and 7 characters with domino masks and capes and tights. I mean, when you think about when Dragon in 1993, it was a guy that was wearing a cop outfit. I mean, there was no powers or any of those kind of books where it was like let's throw a superhero in a normal
circumstances.
Blue collar type job or something like that. It's pretty amazing. It's a pretty awesome visual, and it's nothing like that. Well, and it's cool that you could kind of continue that with a new character and have it be his son, I think it would have been a mistake to kind of give Angel the book, maybe for a short run like you did with the She-Dragon or something like that.
I mean that's the other part of that. It's like, or I could do 3 issues with that and call that a day, which could also what they'll basically be is our equivalent of the teen team or whatever from Invincible, where you go, oh, okay, there's these other guys out there, and when things get really hairy and really shitty, that there are these guys that can be relied on to come in and help out.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because you've been clearing Chicago out of like all the previously major superheroes, so knowing that it won't just be Malcolm is kind of interesting.
Well, it will be, but it won't be.
Okay.
Because there are I'm saying is these characters can be relied on when it's a big deal. At the same time, it's not going to be a big deal all the time.
Right. That makes sense.
Because otherwise, it just becomes another team book.
Right.
Gotcha.
That makes sense. That's fair.
So, when things get rough, and it looks like, well, Chicago's really doomed now, then it'll be, okay, well, we can bring in these guys.
Right.
So
we won't press you for details.
But again, it's like those characters, their lives go on too, and there will be some progression there. So, Angel keeps getting older, and eventually you're going to have Angel getting married or something, and then it'll be, oh, look, check that out. That's another change that's going on in these characters' lives. How is that going to play out or whatever?
Right. Huh. On your kind of recent solicitations, you had you showed us the cover to 196, which was an homage, and I guess probably your first ever for Savage Dragon, and it was Nick Cardy's Action Comics 425, and then I think 3 days later, it was reported that he had died. But
that was a little weird.
Yeah, it was weird. Well, I mean, what I thought was weird is I had never. I mean, I follow you on the forums and Twitter and stuff, and I've been a reader of Savage Dragon forever, and never heard you really talk much about his work. And for that to be kind of like your first homage cover on Savage Dragon was, his stuff, rather than something like Jack Kirby, who you're kind of always talking about and always interested in. Is there a certain reason why that cover, or just a cool cover, or no real story behind it?
I was looking. The thing is that different artists kind of have that sort of thing that they do, and there would be a certain kind of cover that's really associated with certain creators. And one thing that he was always good at was doing these covers that were semi-grounded in a kind of reality of this is normal people's normal lives, and then here's this superhero element that's clashing into that, and that's kind of makes for an interesting contrast between these two worlds kind of coming into conflict with each other, and I just he to me is sort of DC's Johnny Romita. And that he would do his art was very pretty. He would also do kind of romance stuff, which John Romita did. And I kind of, when I was growing up, there was that little window of time when he was kind of their cover guy and was doing a lot of those sort of distinctive, iconic covers. And when I was doing one of the, I homaged him on an issue of Supreme, because there was
that's right.
There was a cover where it was Superman versus a Captain Marvel kind of wannabe guy, and so it's like, okay, well, he was in mind, and at that point I was kind of getting into his stuff a little bit more and going, oh yeah, I remember him. He did a number of covers that I really liked when I was a kid, and so when it came to doing this, I wanted to kind of have Malcolm's stuff be a little more like early Dragon stuff where it felt more urban and
it's more street level.
More street level stuff, which Dragon kind of was when he was a cop. And Malcolm hasn't been that much, just because he's been in a suburban kind of thing, where he's out living in the burbs with the darlings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I kind of want him to be a little more connected to the urban part of Chicago and show the elevated train and get more of a sense of the city and what this is all about.
That's awesome.
And so there was this cover that I was like, I remember this kind of cover. I could do the normal city part of that. And I actually was sitting there trying to draw that cover without looking at that cover.
Wow.
And eventually it got to this point where I'm like, oh, fuck it. I'll just rip it off.
Yeah.
It's just easier, and he had composed the elements better than I was able to come up with just from my memory.
Yeah.
So I just decided to go with it.
Well, that's cool. And I think in the description of the issue, it talks about Malcolm being in the danger zone, so you're kind of keeping that around, which I always thought after the Savage World, that was one of the cooler things that we got out of the Savage World. It's like, the world went to shit, and there's still this area of Chicago that's too rough to clean up or get in there because you got these roaming, rats or whatever those gangs were called, the rats. And, I always liked that, and I'm glad that we're kind of still seeing that there, that there's this kind of,
no man's land,
seedy no man's land where superpowered kind of guys still kind of roam.
And I'm also kind of touching back in on the that period where She-Dragon got changed into being a monster,
right.
and that we were talking about how the water was fucking people up, and
the Belco chemicals, or
go back into that there were these guys who were sitting there trying to make things terrible for people so that they have to seek out their cure to get fixed and stuff like that.
Freak out and Belco chemicals.
Belco chemicals and the freak out stuff. So,
I always thought that had a lot of potential, and I think when it came around, it was like it kind of got overshadowed by a lot of other events.
I think Kerr was going on at that point.
Tends to happen.
Yeah.
I'll be like, or I could go in this direction, and this is awesome.
Right.
It's so easy to do that. You just get distracted by everything else. But hopefully I can keep my eye on the ball here and pay off some of this stuff.
Right. I had a few kind of reserved questions. One of them I thought might make an interesting question for you would be, so if the market was like it was 1993 all over again, and you could definitely spin off a few characters into their own kind of regular series or mini series, who would you choose in this day and age, where the book stands right now, or I guess maybe not even where the book stands right now, but any character? Is there a character where you wish, I wish I would have, when the market was good, kind of gave him his own book? Or
I think I think I could see doing something with the Gods characters, just because I haven't really done that much with them, and they've got their own kind of separate world that I could just do. Let's do my Thor, let's do. I mean, and by Thor I mean do a Heracles book that would be, this is going to focus on this guy, and show what his life is like with the other gods and stuff like that.
And that's you almost did that, right, with Corey Hampshire. At one point there was talks, I think we touched on this, that you were thinking about a Heracles type.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird thing that we tried, and it didn't quite pull it off. I think it was a little more successful when I was laying things out for him.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some storytelling chops that I didn't feel I'd quite gotten the hang of yet, and so that was really the ultimate downfall of that, where it's just like, I don't think it's 100% there. I really wish it was, and that this could work, but unfortunately, it's not everything always works out.
Right. Do you have any kind of future plans for Super Patriot? You gonna pull him out of the closet again soon?
He'll be part of the SOS when we see that. He's definitely still going to be there, and it's still be part of that mix.
He's eventually going to have to be like 100% robot. I don't understand how how old is he now? Like 98?
He's getting pretty old. I'm actually was considering having one of the other characters who's not aging go, yeah, have some of this stuff here, Super Patriot. This will slow you down. Just so that I don't have to deal with him being replaced, because I do kind of like him.
Yeah, he's awesome.
The idea of having somebody else become a new Super Patriot, it's like, really? I'm going to have somebody get that screwed up that they would have to look just like that? It just kind of strains credibility.
I had a really strange idea a while back that Angel should become the new Super Patriot.
Are you going to have someone chew her arms?
No, I mean, remember, Super Patriot started out as a regular guy with superpowers. He was...
Yeah.
But that was just, I don't know why I had that idea a long time ago. I just realized we have a few more listener questions that I didn't get to. They were posted on the forum, and they didn't get added in. So, mind if I throw a few of them at you?
Go right ahead.
Abbott asks, he noticed that the Max is currently being republished at IDW, and he was wondering if Sam Keith had been in touch with you about issue 6, in which Mako and Dragon make an appearance.
The arrangement we have is that in regard to the comic books, is that he can use Dragon as its scene print, as long as I can use Max as its scene print, because he's had Mako in that, and I've had Max in the Dragon, and it's like, as long as neither of us monkeys with the other one, we're in good shape. The only reason that became problematic outside of that is that USA Network was doing Savage Dragon right around the same time that MTV was doing the Max, and those two entities couldn't really go, we're using the same guy from two different places in two different things. So it just seemed to work better,
right?
Having him reinvent Mako as his own thing for their cartoon.
Right. I don't have the issue in question, but it's my understanding that either Mako or Dragon appear on the cover of that issue?
Mako appears on the cover, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of lunging forward.
So can IDW...
No, it's fine. No, he can use it.
Okay.
It's completely his comic.
Cool. Good to know.
I got one from Simon Millette, who did the recent Glum back issue, backstory. He says in issue 177, Wildstar shows up needing info from Dragon to help him prevent the end of the world in 30 years. And he put parentheses 2030. Just wondering if that's a dangling plot we should still be tracking, seeing how that world has already been destroyed in 2011. I'm confused reading that question, but...
Yeah, can you read it again? Because what
I think... Well, first of all, it's issue 77, not 177. And he's saying that Wildstar showed up and told Dragon that the world is going to end in 30 years. At that point, 2030 would have been 30 years out. And he was wondering if... And it was supposedly the Image universe, which you've already destroyed. I don't know.
So he wants to know if he should still be...
All that... that would have been the new universe, because it's 77. It would be with the world. That would be Savage World. The thing with all the time travel stuff is because he came back, he's already changed it.
Right.
So that world, that future world, no longer exists because he came back.
Okay.
And that's part of what he was there to do, was to make it so that his future world didn't come into existence and is destroyed. So that's not happening, and that doesn't really need to be addressed in a big way.
Okay.
Thank you.
Time
travel just hurts my head.
I love time travel myself.
No.
In as far as the reality of this book, the rules that we've kind of set up is that if somebody travels backward in time, that their existence in that world creates a divergent reality.
Yeah, right.
But as long as you don't time travel, you can step between worlds, sideways.
Yeah. That's that's like going through Dimension X.
Right.
Just coming out someplace else, as long as there's not two of you. But the idea is that you could travel back in time and kill yourself, and that could work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because at that point
it's a different universe.
The you that's coming back is now from a divergent reality, because you're not being able to grow up and become that person who travels back in time.
Right.
Is there
anything? Get it. I understand.
I'm just agreeing, but
okay.
I got a question here from Benny Haza from the forum. He was wondering what made you decide to send Allison down a dark path.
Why the hell not?
Yeah. Gotta be somebody.
It seemed like a good idea at the time. But she was definitely, when she was created, the idea was that she would eventually become Dart. And she's never been especially friendly.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like the best way to go with her.
When did she first appear? When did you first create her? Was it?
She was a babysitter for a while in the early issues.
Yeah, she was a babysitter. She was in issue 45. So she was back way when Angel was needing to be babysat, while Dragon was off dealing with whatever the hell he was dealing with.
Right. He was dating all sorts of babes, and he needed a babysitter.
I think he was hanging out with Jennifer in God World at that point.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Benny was also wondering why you never let Dragon beat Mako.
It never even occurred to me that I hadn't. That's how much I keep track of this stuff.
I kind of think that's neat, though. I like that.
I mean, it's they. Yeah, I guess, right? I mean, how many times did they really fight, right? I mean, they fought in the third issue of the miniseries, or second issue of the miniseries.
And he really did damage to Dragon.
Yeah, and then
when they fought,
I keep thinking they fought a lot, but it actually hasn't been that many times. It's only
been like even 3 or 4 times, really, when you get right down to it. I think we figured that out a couple episodes ago.
Because it was like Malcolm and Angel fought Mako at one point, and that's a separate thing entirely. Dragon fought him.
There was the classic beach kind of fight when they killed Dart.
In 112, and it's like they were arms around the neck buddies prior to that for at least a little while.
Yeah, which that was neat too. I really liked the Mako character.
I also love Hero Mako.
Yeah.
Hero Mako is kind of cool.
He was awesome. I was like, damn, this is really, really awesome that he's a hero. Like, it just, there's something about the heroes that look like villains, like the same thing with like Thunderhead. I really like guys that look like they should be evil. Like you always have these looks for villains that they have skeleton heads or sharp teeth or whatever, and then when you find out they're a good guy, it's like, wow, that's kind of neat.
We're just waiting tables here.
Yeah.
Well, that's always been the thing about the bad guys in Savage Dragon, is that they all get a raw deal because society doesn't accept them for what they look like. And that was always kind of the thing back in the early days, is that all the vicious circle guys were all the ugly ones that just couldn't get by in everyday life.
Yeah, but even that, it's like, yeah, you guys are passing the buck because in real life that there are people who are doing that kind of crap to themselves on purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like I'm putting tattoos all over my face and it's nothing but swastikas and fuck you. And it's like, really, you did that to yourself? Now I'm on disability because nobody will hire me. It's like, well, come on, man. That's not cool. I mean, you did that to yourself. That's a self-imposed disability. And then I cut off my foot because fuck the man. It's like, come on.
I got one last question, and I think we should probably wrap it up. We're at an hour and a half, and it's been a lot of fun.
It has.
But I don't want to keep you forever.
All right. Well, what do you got?
All right, Nicholas Grayson. He writes, Dragon has been hated by the public in his book since before the death of Solar Man. Now that Malcolm is taking over, will the status quo change, or will he get called Savage Dragon and be harassed regularly like his dad? Which kind of makes sense to me in a way. I mean, you got to figure that the public is, they're scared to death of Dragon for everything he's done. Is there any of that kind of fear? Are we going to see some of that backlash against his son?
I think there inevitably is some of that. And all he can try and do is be as good an example as he can be. Right. The problem with those kind of characters is that people look on them as representing kind of their entire race in a way. You know what I'm saying? It's like you represent all freaks, and if you do something bad, that sort of impacts everybody else. So I think he feels a real strong sense of responsibility, like I need to be that good example. I mean, it comes to that whole white privilege discussion that you have, where it's like, if Adolf Hitler can roast an oven full of Jews, and you don't go, well, all white guys are assholes. Whereas if there is a black guy's out there who's doing all sorts of shitty stuff, suddenly it's like, oh, fear the black man. And It's like, God, it's not really fair that this can even happen, that one evil person of a certain race can suddenly impact your feelings about everybody else. But that is reality, and you gotta roll with the hand you're dealt. And that's kind of where he's at, where he's like, I've got two things going on. One, I'm half African American. The other part of that is I'm half freak. So in a way, I've got to be super good, or really, in a way, overcompensate for his dad being what he is, and kind of making everything else work as best he can.
Cool. Well, thank you. I want to thank all of our kind of listeners for sending in questions to ask you. We had a lot of good questions.
Yeah, in a short amount of time.
Eric, I really want. Yeah, I mean, we asked people yesterday, and we got a ton of responses. So. It's cool. I'm glad that people enjoy listening to our podcast, and I know we correspond with a lot of people on email that listen, and it's like they're just dying to talk to somebody about Savage Dragon. They're like, I go to this comic shop and 2 other guys collect it, but there's no one to really talk to about it, So it's like I love listening to you guys for an hour, just jaw about it, and the biggest question we always get is when is Eric going to be back on the show? And it's like, well, we can't have him every episode because
It's not special.
It wouldn't work out. Yeah. And, it's all up to him. But thank you for
indulging us.
Indulging us with an hour and a half of your time and, letting us fire all these random questions at you.
That is just perfectly fine. And really, any time, because I'm kind of in the same situation as you are, where I'm not running into a lot of people who are, in my daily life. It's not like my sister's calling me up going, hey, about this panel 6, what the hell, man? It's like I work in an office, which is in my home, and my wife doesn't read the book, and my kid's doing homework or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that same thing too. When as soon as an issue comes out, I'm sitting there on the forum going, "Has anybody read this thing yet? Does anybody have anything to say?" I'm getting no feedback here. What the hell, man?
It's that internet age, instant gratification.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I know. That's the screwed up thing about instant gratification is you're like, I just got to post something on Facebook so I can get immediate feedback. It's like, that's not how that should be.
And it's kind of sad, but the forums have kind of died across, everywhere on the internet. It's like people just don't use forums like they used to.
Yeah, it's all Facebook.
Forums are kind of like,
yeah,
and it's just too short.
Remember when people would be like, oh, when you could get into those discussions where, what the hell? I don't even remember what those things were called. What was
Flame
that?
Wars?
Like live, no, but you would have live discussions that are in
like chat rooms.
Chat rooms. Where the hell happened to chat rooms? There used to be chat.
I remember when your website had a chat room for a little while and be like, all right, at this certain time we're all gonna meet up, and I guess that's a precursor to podcast or whatever. But you could actually have like 20 people firing questions and
I mean now you can actually listen to the real guy going and having a real discussion, but at that point it was like,
well, what some people
we can have a room. We can all just
what some artists do these days is they live chat while they're working on their work. They have a camera set up so you can watch them as they like draw a page or something, and then they have like a chat window where people can like type in questions or whatever. And
but then how do you do that? You have to respond while you're trying to draw. And
what the artist will do is he'll be on a microphone. So he'll read what people are typing, and then he'll answer the question out loud, and it's almost like you're interacting.
Gotcha. That's weird. Who does that?
Oh, a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
None of which I can name off the top of my head.
You just made that up because you want Eric to do it.
All right, okay.
But I don't like Facebook or Twitter you can't hold a conversation on either of them, and I've always been a big proponent for forums, but you're right. Forums have just fallen out of style in the last 5 years.
Yeah, actually, Facebook's actually ended up being somewhat better just because you can follow the thread easier. The real problem with Twitter is, you're getting all of the answers are on top,
right.
and if people don't know how to use it properly, then it's a real mire to try and figure out who's he responding to and what's this.
I mean, well, the upside for you, though, Eric, I mean, how many followers do you have? You have thousands of followers on Twitter, whereas, if you're just on the forum, on the Image Comics forum, there's like, maybe, 30 of us that are kind of asking you questions, whereas you have an audience of thousands when you want to make an announcement.
I mean, it's kind of a screwed up thing when I realized I've got like 3 times as many followers as I have readers, and it's like, that's kind of screwed up.
They're just waiting for you to say something that they can.
I know. It's like
just grab onto and
wait and be pissed off. That's really what it comes down to. What's he gonna say today that I can take exception to?
Yeah, I'm gonna unfollow you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
See
man.
ya.
Twist that knife.
You probably won't buy my book in the first place.
I've never bought your book before, but now I'm really not gonna buy it.
Darn.
Wow. I'm going to stop following you for 3 days. That's like, whatever.
No, please. All right. Well, again, thank you for your time, Eric. We totally appreciate it, and we look forward to the new direction, 193. Do we have there's no street date yet on that, is there?
Oh, no. And that's been the problem. And I went through some kind of major crap here recently where my father passed away, and then I had
I'm really sorry about that.
Drove up to Washington and hung out with the family and went through all this stuff, and it's just been a number of things, and I'm using that as an excuse to just not get my shit together. But
right,
I really am working on it. There are pages that are done. It's happening. And once I've got this one behind me, I think the next one's easier and easier, and so on and so forth. So it should be all rolling once it starts rolling.
Cool. Well, we really look forward to it. We can't wait.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's been such a wait.
Nah,
I know.
we just
I'm
had an
on it.
issue a month ago.
Yeah, really. I mean, it really hasn't been bad at all.
Okay.
This
But cool.
year's
Thank
been
you
great
very
in
much.
general. I mean,
Yeah.
come out on time. It's been awesome.
All right. Well, I'll do more.
All right. Look forward to
Yeah.
it. Take care.
Okay. Thanks,
Have a
guys.
good one.
Thank you.
Well, we certainly had a talk.
Yeah, it's always, like I keep saying, but it's always a treat to have Erik on, to have a creator so accessible and willing to kind of sit there and just answer all the questions we fire at him.
Yeah.
He's just always a joy to talk to. Yes. I think last episode we said that this episode we were going to be talking about 193, and I don't think we want to go through the whole solicitation again. So, and
None of us
who knows?
can do it the way Raven does it.
Exactly. We miss you, Raven, buddy. Next episode, who knows? I'm not sure if 193 will be out by the time we record next episode, but if it's not, we'll still be here, and we'll try to do a retro, maybe review of one of our a past issue that we really liked, or maybe we'll find someone else to interview, but we'll do our best to bring you another episode either way.
So until then.
Yeah, send us your questions, comments, and suggestions. Don't forget, we're at savagefincast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. You still have time to answer last month's trivia. And that's all we got for now.
See you later.
See ya.
The Savage FINcast is hosted by the Gutter Trash Podcast Network, which can be found at guttertrash.net. The Savage FINcast is proud to be members of the Comic Addiction family of podcasts and the Comics Podcast Network, which can be found at comicaddiction.net and comicspodcast.com.